Good afternoon, my name is Kirsty Dignam and I'm here to look at the weekly energies. I was going to say this week, but yes, the weekly energies. There feels some kind of emphasis in that this week of not having to say or state the, I'm going to say it, bloody obvious. Please excuse me, there's some real interesting energy coming in. Just as I say I'm going to talk about something in particular, the energy that comes in is exactly what is needed, but it takes a while to get used to adjust to. So being aware of what we're saying, the intentions that we are making every time we speak, so that we avoid stating the obvious, so that we avoid repetitive, unnecessary patterns in particular. Okay, so let's really go into that. I really feel the energy of Mercury taking that shift movement forward, but almost as a test to see how well we have reflected, how well we have initiated something different. That's what I feel. You know, when we reflect, it's an incredible medicine, and we reflect so that we learn, and we learn so that we grow. And this week in particular, very much, how balanced are we in regards to what we've reflected on and what we have taken forward in order to change and evolve. There's going to need to be a selective response this week because there's a lot of information coming in, a lot of downloads coming in, all relevant. Let's acknowledge that everything that we receive is relevant, but there are times when it is a familiar message in regards to what else we have been receiving, and it's there as a confirmation, and we can acknowledge that with great thanks and then move on, rather than being compressed with so much identical almost guidance. This week very much feels about opening up and allowing space to come in for not necessarily new ideas, but fine-tuned versions of what we have collected over the last 6 months. I mentioned in last week's video, and I will recap briefly, which feels poignant, recap briefly if need be this week. But I mentioned in last week's video that June was most definitely a busy time, a very quick time of information coming in, but an opportunity to prepare ourselves for the ultimate progression, which will come next month with the 7/7 portal. I'm actually considering doing a sound bath at 7 p.m. and I will put more details out about that, but there's definitely something underneath us shifting, and for many this week it can feel almost as if the ground has been taken out, the rug has been taken out from beneath us. I'm getting the analogy of the magic carpet ride. There is some illusion in regards to what is actually going to take us forward in July, and really when these things are removed from our perception, when these things are removed from our path, we can then start to see what is left. There is great emphasis on making space this week to really remove what is no longer necessary, but what is done with gratitude and with thanks. But not to have the temptation of believing that we didn't do it well enough or good enough and need to bring it back in and do more. This is not reflection, this is repetition, and recognizing that there is a real difference between that energy this week. How? By lightening it up, by having that Mercury trickster type humor come in. There's a definition, I think, I can't remember who it was, Albert Einstein springs to mind, but the definition of madness is to go round in circles doing the same thing. And it reminds me of a dog chasing its tail. When we reflect, reflection doesn't mean repetition. And that feels like the real poignant message this week. Okay, so totally unexpected. Again, that is key. Some of the stuff that comes through may very well be unexpected, unplanned. Letting go of attachment is a wonderful tool to help initiate this, and that is what's being suggested here, an initiation of new potential, new language, new ideas, a new energy. Even for me, I can feel it, a new energy trying to come in, a new world, a new perception of how things are. But making space for that is essential. So I did debate whether or not to, my eyes are being drawn to a book that I've just had arrive called Spirit Song, The Introduction of No Eyes, and it's by Mary Summer Rain, and I'm just being really drawn to the figure on the front of the book here, so I'm not sure how that will come up, but we will see. There's something in relation to the bees. The bees have been sending a lot of messages this last few days in particular, so I'm going to pass a book on to a friend of mine called The Shamanic Way of the Bee by Simon Buxton, which I totally recommend in regards to the medicine of the bees. And there's something here about the medicine. What medicine have we gained over the last 6 months that is going to be our honey, our nectar to take us forward? When we talk about new journeys, we talk about the fool's journey, the hero's journey, but also the unknown, the hummingbird, the great adventure in the north. And hummingbird moves forward by physically standing still, allowing the world to, do what it needs to do around it, and feeding only from the sweetness of life. So this week in particular, if it doesn't give you joy, if it doesn't bring you a thirst for the beauty of how things are, it will not sustain you the next 6 months. It's as simple as that. It's a pretty harsh message, but even that, no, I need to step back from that. Letting go of the judgments behind the messages that we are getting this week. They are very much about tough love. They are very much about aiding us, facilitating us, empowering us, not, what's the word? Enabling. Not enabling in the negative connotation of continuing patterns that are for which there are no fruit. That's what I hear. I was going to say no good, but actually for which there are no fruit anymore. We are in the year of lovers, and we bite from the forbidden fruit. We feed from the harvest of what we have discovered through our own wisdom and our own connection and our own vulnerability and our own raw, real state. If there's nothing more to learn there, it will not sustain you. It will not sustain us collectively, and it will eventually rot, decay and fizzle out if we allow that to happen. I hear the phrase flogging a dead horse this week in particular, so being very mindful of that. And the cards that I'm going to use are actually the Animal Totem Tarot, again by Lisa Robertson, because it feels very important to connect to our animal instincts this week as well, and our own inner wild again, our own Salka, our own undomesticated self. Remember, we're still in that energy of the raw, vulnerable, real version of ourselves that has come through for the last 6 months. So taking that forward as a fruit rather than a wound. Okay. So the other thing, going back to why I was undecided whether or not to do a video, I really didn't feel as if I related to the energy that was going on at the moment. Really felt as if I didn't resonate with the normal everyday things that were going on, and my own patterns started to suggest that I needed grounding, or I wasn't in this world, and and actually what came through was, what better way to observe and witness and almost give a non-judgmental view of the energies. This is what happens when something doesn't relate to us. Rather than making it resonate with us, rather than stepping into an energy that doesn't vibrate on the same level with us. I'm not talking higher or level, just higher or lower. I'm just talking the tone. When something isn't of our spirit song, okay? What that means is we can listen to it for its full beauty without interfering. We can observe something, we can witness it, we can learn on a deeper level. So although the energies this week do not resonate with me per se, that gives me an opportunity to witness them, read them, and maybe discover something without attachment of it being all about us. Okay, so it is the power of the witness here, but I was going to say on a different level, and of course it's on a different level. It's the angelic presence on the Lovers card. So it is about looking beyond our actions in the masculine, looking beyond our ability to reflect in the feminine, and seeing them both merge together. So we have done X, Y, and Z. We have learned A, B, C. What now? Yeah, we're coming up to the solstice. We're coming up to that half point, turning point of the year. And much as it does feel as if June is a very busy month, it is still about preparing for the changes. We are still in the energies of the first half of the year, up until the solstice at least. So, you know, the next new moon, I think, is a Cancerian new moon. We have the energy of moving forward, but in a slightly sideways direction, also ruled by the Chariot, which is the energy that's going to come through for next year, which is 7, which is the energy of July. Okay, endurances and moving forward, but not quite yet. We are still in the energy of the 6th month, harmony. We are still in the energy of the solstice, balance. Okay, so really this week, looking at what no longer brings us joy, what no longer sustains us, and knowing with great gratitude that that can now be used as fertilizer for what will. So with that in mind, I'm going to look at the energies this week. 10 minutes in. Okay. What I want to do first actually is look at the Earth Warrior Oracles. And the reason I want to look at the Earth Warrior Oracle, one, they resonate with me. They really resonate with me. When something resonates with us, what happens? Well, it takes us into an energy even we may not be aware of in regards to our own soul song. So I remember carrying a bag of flint a few weeks ago and getting messages from the flint, as you do. And one of the things, I really felt the strength and I really felt connected to the flint. I really felt that spark of creativity that it caused our ancestors with fire. I really felt the power of the flint, but not as a separate entity. I felt it within me. And I remember asking the stone people, why did I feel this? And the message that I received back is what we carry, we become. Well worth thinking about this week. What are we carrying forward? Because it is that we are going to become. So that is why I want to work with the Earth Warriors Oracle, because for me that is what I carry. That is behind everything that I do, whatever is for the greatest good for the earth as much as I can. And it's going to be different for us all, but I like these because on here the animals and the humans are not separate. They are all part of the plan for Pachamama, from the earth. They are all warriors of the earth. And I really like that energy. And right at the top, we have above the head, hummingbird. Okay, so we allow that journey, that hero's journey of the beauty way, the nectar of life to guide us this week in particular, but yeah, always. Okay, so now I do not know the meaning of these cards. I'm going to pull one guiding energy for this week, please. So I really see us connecting to the earth. I really see us allowing that energy to come up from the earth and receive. And we have Amuatu, Sage of Higher Knowledge, at the top of the pack. How funny, underneath we have Grace of She who rides the owl. Gosh, and then we have more owls on the cards underneath. So definitely the owl wisdom coming through this week. And when we think about the owl, we think about the ability to see in the darkness. We've all learned how to do that. We have all had, in our own ways, some of the most difficult, dense years of our existence over the last couple of years, but definitely the last decade, one way or another. And what that has done is allow us to see the light within that darkness, allow us to find something to focus on to keep us going. Owls are nocturnal creatures. They do have the ability to see in darkness, and I personally would argue, regardless where we are on our journey, we have all gained something in the ability to be able to do that. And that's going to be different for everybody, and it's going to be at different stages for everybody, because that is also part of the process. I love the colours here, and I love how it's the colours that have become the headdress around both of these characters. It is the colours, it is the hue, it is the human that we wear with pride. It is our ability to be different from each other, different cycles, different stages, different energies, that gives us the wisdom of the collective consciousness. It is our differences that broaden the awareness, not restrict it. So the two cards I did actually pick, wow, so they're identical to the cards that I picked this morning, which is interesting, really, really interesting. So Pueo, which is the guardian of the Umakua, which is our ancestors, the guardian of the ancestors, and Abuela Medicina, which is the remedy of the grandmothers. Now these cards, I know, again, because I can reflect on their messages from this morning, were very much to do with recognizing the divine feminine, very much to do with recognizing the medicine of the earth and the genius of spirit, and knowing that we are part of that, but also realizing our own medicine and what it is we bring to this earth and how we can move forward with that. The guidance this morning was very much about saying yes to whatever comes in, to face our own value, to come head to head with where we are going by anything that is put in our path right now, realizing it is for us. So I want to look up these other two cards because they are the only thing that is different. Okay, so real emphasis there. This week in particular, try not to focus all of your energy on the messages you already know, because that's quite a safe space, isn't it? That's quite a safe, well, it's my comfort zone, I can do X, Y, and Z. That's great. It's the foundation. It's brilliant. It's the trunk of the tree. But if we want to grow new fruit, look into the things that have come in that are different this week and just see where they lead you. So I actually am doing many different things at the moment, and some of them are working in shops, some of them are cleaning people's homes and providing a sacred space. And what I've discovered the whole way through, even now the big grin on my face, is the power of work. I love, love, love the energy of a good day's work. You know, that completion, that sense of fulfillment, whatever that may be. It doesn't have to be a job. It can be looking after the next generation. You know, for some people, myself included, sometimes work is getting out of bed in the morning, but recognizing the effort that we are putting in for the change that we're trying to achieve. Very, very important leading up to the solstice. The other thing I've discovered in these roles is that actually I'm myself in each and every one of them. So what I'm doing is bringing healing to cleaning people's homes. I'm providing sacred space and cleansing that area, or I'm transforming that energy. So it really doesn't matter the jobs that you do. What matters is you are you in whatever it is you do. This week in particular is really, really, really important. And then when we're in that energy, when we're in our spirit song, our soul's vibration, what is for you will come because you are singing it. You are actually physically sounding it out with your actions this week. Okay, so number 8. Grace of she who rides the owl. The goddess of spiritual awakening, wealth and balance. Coming to correct dharmas, that which is dark, unnatural and against nature. Redress the misuse of wealth and power. Awaken the heart to the vision of light and truth that was once hidden. And there is an emphasis on that this week, that certain truths that were hidden will be coming to the surface. They always are. Yeah, they always are. And, you know, what I can see is how my bathroom toilet at the moment is a bit slower to flush and it's slightly blocked. And what feels more relevant is when these things rise to be seen. Need to take this on board myself with something that I'm actually part of at the moment. But when these things rise in order to be seen, it's not about emphasizing what has risen, more reflecting on why it is coming up now, what is blocking it, or what has been removed in order for that to come up, and focusing on that. That's where the medicine lies, not the actual trigger, but what happens as a result and why it has happened. Okay. Trust in the innocence of your soul and fear not, for I am ever watchful, and my grace brings truth. Divine justice is always brought to bear with compassion. So in a reading, this card basically says, don't waste your valuable time and energy worrying about people getting away with things. On a cosmic level, there is only justice. That is not always visible at a human level, and yet that doesn't preclude divine order unfolding. Everything is balanced by karma in the long run. If you feel down or depressed, take immediate action to reconnect to joy, healing energy and vitality of spirit. So really back to that emphasis of, you know, a lot of us, particularly light workers, I don't know why I'm doing that actually, but I do apologise, but particularly all of us. I'm going to say all of us because I personally won't feed into the who's this, who's that, blah energy. All of us at one point can be weighed down by this thing called life. And what happens is we begin to get quite comfortable with that being our perception. This week in particular, try to look beyond that. Try not to focus on the things that bring us lower, but maybe the beauty behind it, or not focusing on it at all. So, you know, energy will only continue all the time we feed it. It's like a fire. It will only carry on burning all the time we continue to add to it. So you can make the decision not to add to it. That's my cat outside calling. All things are measured and metered by clear divine vision, and your job is to put your faith in the work of the divine whilst you tend to your own journey with trust and commitment. So that feels really important. Handing things over. Okay, so when something comes to your door, something comes into your energy, something you feel out of control with, hand it over to a higher source and redirect your energy back to where it needs to be, where you're asked to put your focus right now. I'm going to see if my focus is going to be with my cat. Okay, so she stopped for now. And that in itself could be a message. You know, once we redirect our focus, the noise may stop. It doesn't mean it won't return. But, you know, just really seeing that if we can stay in who we are and stay in our own energy, the noise can become less of a distraction. Okay, and then number 12, Sage of Higher Knowledge. Seek what feels true, including this video, even beyond the logical. If something doesn't feel right, challenge it and dig deeper. Educate and inform yourself on matters of importance to you. Trust that your mind is strong and bright enough to do this. Enhance your self-esteem by searching for information and trusting your intuition to help you discern what is useful and true. Have faith in your mental abilities. If others have criticised you or made you feel inadequate in understanding, cast that off as belonging to the past and not relevant to you now. You will become immune to manipulation by others who may be convincing but not necessarily accurate or helpful. Trust the power of your mind to receive and recognise the answers you need. You will find your own way. And the good thing is when things come to light that were hidden or things come to light that we didn't know, what they can be is a wonderful opportunity, I was going to say, but yeah, an opportunity to turn things up. You know, knowledge shouldn't be knowing that's on a ledge. It's an awareness. It has an opportunity to grow if we allow it. So if something comes to light that we weren't aware of, it's a wonderful chance to learn something different about ourselves and each other and the world within which we live. Okay, so that real expansion feels like key as we go into the latter part of this year and as we enter the 7 energy. It feels like very, very important to expand what it is we are taking forward into 2023. Really important to expand our hopes, our visions, our views, our beliefs. But in order to do that, it is being aware of where we are restricting them. And that comes from things coming to light that we weren't quite aware of. Okay, so my cat has stopped again, but I'm very mindful that it was raining, so it's fine. Fine, it stopped. Being mindful, obviously, when certain callings, information or words have come from discomfort, and when they have come from impatience. My cat is a very impatient madam. When they've come from demanding, she can be incredibly demanding. Just being very, very aware where those words, our own included, have actually come from this week. You know, a little bit of a challenge. I don't know if you've seen the film 1,000 Words with, I think it's Eddie Murphy, and I think it's called 1,000 Words, and his words are limited. And when he runs out of words, he runs out of life. Excuse me. Maybe setting a challenge this week to try and get our point across in a more focused, direct way in preparation for next year, because next year the energies are the Chariot and they can pull us to and fro, and it may feel as if we're not actually moving forward. So maybe using this now as training ground to discover how to be more streamlined and direct. So with that in mind, putting it to practice, putting our skills into practice. I've just finished my college work for the counselling course, and you know, the last bit that we did was role play, putting our skills into practice this week. Really, what have you learned the first half of the year? Putting it into practice. So let's do that. Let's streamline our energy. Recognizing everything is on a need to know basis, and sometimes it is our curiosity that killed the cat, right? It is our curiosity that makes things more complicated than they need to be. But again, that is part of the process, but it doesn't feel like it is this week. This week, acknowledge what it is you are asking, acknowledge what it is you are calling for, and keep that direct, keep that focused, keep that streamlined. Okay, energies this week, please. Right, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, overall. So I'm actually doing this reading on Saturday because I'm busy all week, and that didn't actually change the energy or the outcome, and that's okay. It's okay to be in a different place energetically and still be aware of the energy that is going on this week. In fact, it almost feels vital to be able to witness it, back to that original message at the beginning of the video. So overall, we have the Knight of Swords and the Ace of Cups, and we do have the Kingfisher, very similar to the hummingbird here, and it is about feeding from that nectar, that beauty, that sweetness of life this week. If it doesn't sing to your heart, it doesn't sing to your soul. It is as simple as that. Okay, we also have the Knight of Swords. Now that can bring a very direct, my way or the highway type energy this week, and that's okay, but just remember that we may become pawns in a game that we didn't agree to be part of if we rush ahead. There's more to this. Yes, and that feels like the emphasis. So we can feed from the nectar of life and still move forward. It doesn't mean we have to rush past the things that we don't like. We can see them and recognize there's more to it, and only then can we take what it is we want. So yes, it isn't about bypassing the negative. It is about sifting through it and taking forward the positive this week. It's going to take some grounding. On the Monday we have the King of Pentacles, which in this deck is a bison. Okay, or you know, they remind me of the white buffalo, calf type energy. It's really going to take some connecting to not only the earth but your energy here and who you are. Setting that as the intention perhaps, because what I'm feeling is the acknowledgement that I wanted this reading to be swift, get in, get done, get out type energy. So setting an intention and allowing that to be your grounding this week, and acting in the same vibration as your intention. So with that in mind, on the Tuesday we then have the Ten of Pentacles. When we don't overcomplicate things, we can let go of that isn't for us anymore and bring forward, make space for that is. You know, rabbits multiply 10 to the dozen. Very, very fertile energy here available leading into the solstice on the Tuesday. Obviously, we do have the balance of the masculine and the feminine, so keeping that in mind, in particular if you're trying to have a family or create a family. The solstice may very well be a fantastic time to do that, or joint ventures, joint ideas coming to fruition on the Tuesday. On the Wednesday, we have the Two of Pentacles, and in this deck in particular, yes, there's balance, but the balance comes by recognizing that what we have has come from a higher energy, has come from a higher perspective, and really caring for that. You know, that includes our body, our job, our relationships, everything that is occurring around us. If we can see it from a higher perspective, we will want to nurture it, and when we want to nurture it, we will have that balance naturally, that flow naturally. On the Thursday, we have the Seven of Pentacles. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Yes, on the Thursday, we have the Seven of Pentacles. And, you know, this is a really beautiful card in regards to harvest. But don't forget that this antler here, this deer here, almost looks like his antlers are stuck in the tree. Okay, so it's almost about taking that time to pause and reflect on what we do have, how far we have come, the endurance, the growth, the strength, or the time will be made for us, and that is going to be a choice. Okay, so in the background, in the past, you can see that fighting with the masculine, those actions having to be so aggressive. It's not what the feminine actually wants in the front here. It is more about just taking stock, looking at the abundance around us, the fruit around us, before we then decide to argue over whose is what and what belongs where. And, you know, very much by the Thursday, pausing, being, before we decide what it is we're going to pick for the next 6 months. On the Friday, we have the Queen of Wands, and yeah, she shows you how to do it. Now, you know, a lot of people will work with the Queen of Wands, and the Queen of Wands is one of my astrological cards. And a lot of people work with the Queen of Wands and very much say that she's a fiery energy and she's running around, and she can indeed be. The Queen is also nurturing, giving, receiving, because she's the Queen energy. So we're talking the divine feminine here, and I think this card portrays the Queen of Wands beautifully. She'll hunt when she needs to. She's relaxed. She's waiting for things to come to her. Obviously, she does look a little bit on the slim side, so keeping that balance, yeah. There's many shadow aspects to many things in life, and the Queen of Wands has several shadows for me personally, and one of them is the running around. That can be a very shadow aspect, as in it's never enough, always doing something. And the other shadow aspect of the Queen of Wands can be entitlement. So looking out for that on the Friday, believing that we're entitled to something without putting the work in. On the Saturday, we have the Four of Wands. Provided that balance is maintained. Is that a B? Yes, okay. Provided that balance is maintained, we build a really, really strong nest here. Something to take further. I was going to say something to continue to build on. Absolutely, in the next 6 months. But remembering we're at the early stages of that. Sometimes when we want something to be what it isn't, we start to bring in other things, when if we just recognise the stage that we're at, we can appreciate what it is for its part in our process and our journey. Okay, so on the Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, yes, on the Sunday we do have the Hanged Man, and actually I can't see if it, I think it's an ant. No, it's an ant, but interesting that I thought it was a bee. I actually had to turn it up the right way to see it for what it was, which feels very poignant the whole week, with all this hidden information that may come to light, all these different ways of seeing things, all these different views. What I'm seeing is so many different realities crashing into each other like atoms, and sound, and lots of noise as a result. And the noise being heard on the earth as well. I can really see like the tapping, even the gentle tapping of an ant can be heard by the earth. So really looking at the words that we portray this week, really looking at our footsteps, our energetic, our carbon, all of them, and the impact that it has on the earth. You know, the whole point of seeing things from different perspectives is to learn from it. And if, again, we're reflecting but repeating, there's something not quite right in that cycle there. So that's where we end up getting a lot of the victim mentality that can come from the Hanged Man, the martyr. Nothing has changed. Have you changed? Have you looked at something, learned from it, and done something differently? Again, we cannot expect different results if we're going to do the same thing. Okay, so let's reflect on that and look at what is going on overall. So overall, we have one major arcana, and it is the Hanged Man. The Hanged Man is also Buddha and the Christ consciousness, and there is that potential this week, if we continue to keep going back to our heart, there is that potential almost for these new things to be brought forward through us being in our heart space this week. We are going to see things from different perspectives. We can choose what perspective that is. We can either see things as hidden, secretive, negative, you know, or we can be the owl at the beginning of the reading and see the light in the darkness and know that we are now adapted to be able to do this because we have stepped into our own Christ consciousness, our own ability to see the beauty way and to feed from that because of the journeys that we've had into the unknown over the last few years. Okay, so we then have lots of earth this week. 1, 2, 3, 4 Pentacle cards. And when we think about 4 Pentacles, we think about the 4 of Pentacles. So there is that holding on to security and to comfort. And that's okay. There's no judgment here. No one's saying you have to get rid of X, Y, and Z. You know, you have to be like Buddha and just give up everything. And no one's saying you have to go and walk in the desert for 40 days and 40 nights. But if you want something more, it is about going that extra mile yourself. If you want more security, more love, more intimate relationships, really this week looking at what you are doing to bring that in. What space are you making for that? You know, are you making time to look at your career? Are you making time to be with your loved ones, your family, those people you want that deeper relationship with? Or are you clinging to what you want but not handing it up for it to be manifested? Really, really, really looking at things that we may be collectively holding on to this week that actually stands in the way of the intentions we're trying to achieve. And we'll feel that in our body. You know, these are Pentacle cards. We will feel that in our purse strings. We will feel that in our home. We will feel that in our connection to the earth. You know, if we go on holiday but never take a moment to actually breathe, we're not on holiday. If we buy lots of healthy food but we don't actually eat it, we're not actually being healthy. It is about taking it that extra mile this week, filling in the gaps with the energy of what you're trying to achieve, not what you don't or what you've achieved before, because it isn't going to sustain you. Gosh. Okay, so we then have two wand cards, the Queen of Wands and the Four of Wands. So knowing, yes, what is for you will not pass you by, but also when you're hungry, when you get that reaction of, I want something more for my soul in this relationship, this job, this da-da-da-da, whatever that may be, acknowledging that in your actions, which means if something comes up that you don't want to be part of, don't feed it. If something comes up that you would like to investigate that brings you joy, feed that. We have this choice. We have always had this choice. One of the most disempowering things I've ever found throughout my life here is believing that we have no power when actually we decide how we choose to see things. We decide and form our own reality. That can be very uncomfortable to recognise, but it can also be the foundation of that Four of Wands, that building of a more stable nest. Okay, and then we have one sword card, which is the Knight of Swords. So really looking at our mind here, ensuring that we are in a level of maturity before we act and move forward, but also keeping it light. Okay, keeping it light. So again, it's that balance. The sword is a double edge. Yes, so it's keeping that balance of not procrastinating and overthinking or overanalyzing, but not knee-jerk reaction either. And recognizing that if any of those two happen, they too were part of the process, and there will be a balance as a result, a balancer as a result. It is about finding the middle ground this week. It is about finding our own inner mental harmony and the impact that that can actually have on our physical life and our place here. It's quite profound, actually. And then we have one cup card, which is the Ace of Cups. It speaks for itself. Yeah, feed from the saucer, not the cup. Feed from what is overflowing from you. Okay, if you feel like you have a lot of love to give, give it. And if you feel like you have insights you want to share, something you want to create, do it. Okay, and know that whatever happens as a result was always part of bringing you harmony in regards to whatever it was you were intending for the next half of the year. Okay, now that, I want to end on that. What is it you're intending for the latter half of the year? And how can we best achieve that? It's unclear. It's unclear because we have the Five of Cups and the Nine of Swords, so there's still an awful lot of mental energy here in regards to what has happened, and that is almost affecting how we move forward, and it is about moving on from that first. So again, if you're unsure what you're trying to achieve, remember July is the month to really be moving forward anyway, so really using this time to see what comes to light. This hidden information that may come to the surface could help you find what it is you want to achieve in the next 6 months, because we do have then the King of Swords. So really recognizing all this mental anguish that may come up is an opportunity to move forward from what was emotionally. Okay, but again, it is how we choose to see that. So on that note, I'm going to move forward from the feeling of, is this enough? Has there been enough guidance? And acknowledge that it will be what it will be, and it will be heard by whoever needs to hear it. So have a wonderful, wonderful week, an incredibly balancing solstice. And I will see you probably next Monday. Take care.